Conor McGregor spends $2 million annually on a private security force that operates like a military unit. When you see what threats they're protecting him from, you'll understand why he needs an army. Picture this: it's 3 a.m. in Dublin, and most of the city sleeps peacefully under the Irish moonlight. But in a nondescript office building on the outskirts of the city, 12 men sit around a table studying photographs, analyzing threat assessments, and planning operations with the precision of a military command center. These aren't ordinary security guards checking doors and watching cameras. These are elite operators, former special forces soldiers, intelligence specialists, and combat veterans who have traded battlefields for boardrooms, but their mission remains the same: neutralize threats before they become deadly. Welcome to McGregor Security Solutions, Conor's $2 million private army that operates 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, protecting not just the fighter himself, but his family, his businesses, and his entire empire from threats that would make most people lose sleep forever. The man who runs this operation is Colonel James Mitchell, a 48-year-old former British SAS commander who spent 15 years in some of the world's most dangerous conflict zones before Conor recruited him in 2018. What Mitchell discovered about the level of threats facing one of the world's most famous fighters shocked even someone who had spent decades dealing with international terrorism and organized crime. People think celebrity security is about keeping fans at bay and looking intimidating at events, Mitchell explains in his crisp British accent. What they don't understand is that when someone reaches Conor's level of fame and wealth, they become targets for threats that most people can't even imagine. The threats aren't theoretical. They're real, documented, and escalating every year as Conor's global profile and business empire continue to expand. But before we reveal the shocking nature of these threats, you need to understand how Conor realized he needed something far beyond typical celebrity protection. The wake-up call came in early 2018, during what should have been a routine family vacation in the Bahamas. Conor, Dee, and their children were staying at an exclusive resort, enjoying some rare privacy away from the constant attention of fans and media. Standard security protocols were in place: local bodyguards, hotel security, and basic threat assessment procedures that had worked fine for previous trips. But on the third night of their vacation, something happened that changed everything about how Conor approached his family's safety. Resort security noticed a group of men conducting surveillance of the family's villa from multiple positions around the property. These weren't paparazzi or overeager fans taking pictures. The surveillance was professional, coordinated, and clearly designed to gather intelligence about routines, security measures, and vulnerabilities. When confronted by hotel security, the men scattered, but not before leaving behind equipment that revealed the sophisticated nature of their operation. Long-range cameras, communication devices, and most troubling of all, detailed floor plans of the villa and schedules of the family's daily activities. Local police investigated but found that the men had disappeared without a trace, using false identities and untraceable rental vehicles. The incident was quietly covered up by the resort to avoid negative publicity, but the message was clear: Conor and his family were being hunted by people with resources, training, and dangerous intentions. Within 48 hours of returning to Dublin, Conor made the phone call that would change his approach to security forever. He contacted Colonel Mitchell, whose reputation in elite security circles was legendary. And what Mitchell found when he conducted his initial threat assessment left everyone speechless. "The first thing I did was analyze the existing security measures," Mitchell recalls. "What I found was typical celebrity protection: impressive-looking bodyguards, expensive cars, and basic threat awareness. But when I looked at the actual threat landscape Conor was facing, I realized we were bringing a knife to a gunfight." Mitchell's assessment revealed threats that went far beyond angry fans or opportunistic criminals. International organized crime groups had identified Conor as a high-value target for kidnapping, extortion, and worse. His public displays of wealth, combined with his predictable travel patterns and relatively light security, had made him an attractive target for groups that specialized in targeting celebrities and wealthy individuals. But the most concerning discovery was evidence of what Mitchell calls professional interest from groups that weren't motivated by money alone. There were indications that certain individuals and organizations saw Conor as more than just a potential payday, Mitchell explains carefully, clearly choosing his words to avoid revealing classified details. His influence, his platform, his connections, these made him a target for people with political and strategic motivations that went beyond simple financial gain. The solution Mitchell proposed was unprecedented in celebrity security. Instead of hiring more bodyguards or installing better cameras, he recommended creating what was essentially a private military unit dedicated exclusively to protecting Conor's interests. The concept was revolutionary, a 12-man team of elite operators, each with specialized skills, working in coordinated shifts to provide comprehensive protection that would rival what most heads of state receive. But the cost would be staggering, and the level of commitment required would change everything about how Conor and his family lived their lives. Mitchell's team selection process took 6 months and involved screening candidates from some of the world's most elite military and intelligence organizations. British SAS, Irish Army Rangers, Israeli Mossad operatives, and American Delta Force veterans were all considered, but only the most exceptional candidates made it through the rigorous selection process. Each team member had to meet specific criteria: combat experience in hostile environments, advanced weapons training, surveillance and counter-surveillance expertise, emergency medical training, and most importantly, the psychological stability to handle the unique pressures of protecting a high-profile celebrity family. The final team includes specialists in close protection, tactical driving, cybersecurity, communications, medical support, and threat assessment. But unlike typical bodyguards who simply react to situations, Mitchell's team operates proactively, identifying and neutralizing threats before they can materialize. "We don't wait for something to happen and then respond," Mitchell explains. "We gather intelligence, analyze patterns, and intervene before threats can develop into actual dangers. It's the difference between playing defense and controlling the entire game." The annual cost of maintaining this private army is staggering. Each team member earns between $150,000 and $200,000 annually, plus comprehensive benefits, equipment costs, training expenses, and operational funding. The total budget exceeds $2 million per year, making it one of the most expensive private security operations in the world. But recent events have proven that every penny of that investment has been worth it. But here's where the story gets really shocking, because what this elite team has been protecting Conor from would terrify most people. In March 2023, Mitchell's intelligence network uncovered a kidnapping plot that had been in development for over 8 months. The plan, orchestrated by a group with connections to Eastern European organized crime, involved taking one of Conor's children during a routine school pickup and demanding a ransom of $50 million. The sophistication of the plot was terrifying. The criminals had conducted months of surveillance, identifying security patterns, studying daily routines, and even infiltrating the school's administrative systems to access schedules and security protocols. This wasn't some desperate criminal making a hasty decision, Mitchell reveals. This was a professional operation with significant resources and inside information. If we hadn't detected it in the planning stages, it could have been catastrophic. Mitchell's team didn't just discover the plot, they systematically dismantled it over a period of weeks, working with international law enforcement agencies to identify and arrest the key players while gathering intelligence that prevented similar operations from developing. The operation required coordination between team members in Dublin, London, Budapest, and Prague. Surveillance specialists tracked the criminal network's movements, cyber specialists penetrated their communication systems, and tactical teams positioned themselves to intervene if the situation escalated. The success of this operation validated Mitchell's approach and demonstrated why Conor's security budget is so much higher than typical celebrity protection. They weren't just preventing a crime, they were defeating an international criminal conspiracy. But the kidnapping plot was just one of several major threats that Mitchell's team has neutralized over the past 2 years. In August 2023, cyber specialists within Mitchell's team detected an advanced hacking attempt targeting Conor's business networks. The attack wasn't designed to steal money, it was intended to gather sensitive information about his business partners, financial arrangements, and personal communications that could be used for blackmail or competitive advantage. The hackers had gained access to email servers, financial databases, and even personal devices belonging to family members. They had been quietly extracting information for weeks before Mitchell's team detected the intrusion. The level of sophistication suggested state-level resources, Mitchell explains. This wasn't some teenager trying to steal credit card numbers. This was professional espionage targeting Conor's business empire and personal relationships. The counter-operation took 3 weeks and involved temporarily shutting down entire network segments while specialists traced the attack back to its source and implemented advanced security measures that now protect all of Conor's digital assets. The investigation revealed that the attack was connected to a business rival who was using illegally obtained information to gain advantages in negotiations and potentially damage Conor's reputation through selective leaks of private communications. But perhaps the most disturbing threat came from an unexpected source that shocked even Mitchell's experienced team. Before we continue with this incredible story of modern security warfare, make sure you're subscribed to Notorious Stories and hit that like button. We dive deep into the most shocking and untold stories of Conor McGregor's life, from his biggest victories to his most challenging moments. Drop a comment below and let us know, what other Conor McGregor secrets would you like us to investigate? The truth about the Notorious One is always more fascinating than what you see in the headlines. In December 2023, Mitchell's team uncovered what they initially thought was a stalking case but turned out to be something far more sinister. An individual who had been obsessively following Conor's career for years had gradually escalated from online harassment to real-world surveillance and was planning what investigators described as a catastrophic confrontation. The individual had military training, access to weapons, and had been conducting detailed reconnaissance of Conor's properties, business locations, and family routines. Psychological analysis suggested that the person had developed a delusional belief system that positioned Conor as responsible for personal failures and disappointments in the stalker's life. This was the kind of threat that keeps security professionals awake at night, Mitchell admits. Someone with training, resources, and a psychological profile that suggested they were capable of extreme violence with no concern for their own survival. The intervention required careful coordination with mental health professionals, law enforcement agencies, and even international intelligence services when it was discovered that the individual had been traveling between countries to avoid detection while continuing surveillance activities. Mitchell's team had to balance public safety concerns with the need to protect Conor's privacy and reputation. The operation included surveillance of the stalker, infiltration of online communities where the person was recruiting like-minded individuals, and ultimately a coordinated arrest that prevented what could have been a tragedy. The case highlighted why Mitchell's team includes specialists in psychological threat assessment and why their intelligence gathering extends far beyond traditional security concerns. But the threats aren't limited to external actors. Some of the most dangerous situations have come from within Conor's own circle. One of the most challenging aspects of Mitchell's job is protecting Conor from threats that come from people with legitimate access to his inner circle. Business associates, training partners, staff members, and even friends can become security risks if their loyalties change or if they're compromised by outside influences. In 2024, Mitchell's team discovered that a longtime associate had been providing detailed information about Conor's schedule, security arrangements, and family activities to parties unknown. The information was being sold to paparazzi, rival business interests, and potentially more dangerous actors. The insider threat is often the most difficult to detect and the most dangerous to address, Mitchell explains. These are people with legitimate access who can bypass most security measures simply because they're trusted. The investigation into the information leak required Mitchell's team to conduct covert surveillance of people within Conor's organization without alerting them to the investigation. Cyber specialists monitored communications, behavioral analysts looked for suspicious patterns, and ultimately the team gathered enough evidence to identify the source of the leaks. The resolution involved not just removing the compromised individual from Conor's organization, but also implementing new security protocols that would prevent similar breaches in the future without creating an atmosphere of suspicion and paranoia among loyal staff members. But perhaps the most impressive demonstration of Mitchell's team capabilities came during what they now refer to as the Prague incident. In September 2024, Conor was in Prague for a business meeting with potential European partners for his whiskey distribution network. The meeting was highly confidential, and only a small circle of people knew about Conor's travel plans and schedule. On the second day of the trip, Mitchell's intelligence network detected unusual activity around the hotel where Conor was staying. Multiple vehicles with non-local license plates, individuals conducting surveillance from fixed positions, and communication intercepts suggesting that hostile actors were planning some kind of operation. "We had about 4 hours between detecting the threat and Conor's scheduled departure from the hotel," Mitchell recalls. "The situation was escalating quickly, and we needed to extract him safely without creating an international incident or revealing our capabilities to potential adversaries." Mitchell's team implemented what they call a ghost protocol, making Conor effectively disappear while creating the impression that he was still following his original schedule. A decoy convoy left the hotel at the scheduled time while Conor was quietly extracted through alternative routes using vehicles and identities that had been prepared for exactly this type of emergency. The operation involved coordination with Czech law enforcement, alternative transportation networks, and real-time intelligence analysis that allowed the team to stay ahead of the hostile surveillance network throughout the extraction process. Conor arrived safely back in Dublin without ever knowing how close the situation had come to potentially dangerous confrontation. The hostile actors, meanwhile, spent hours following empty vehicles and watching hotel rooms that had been abandoned hours earlier. The Prague incident demonstrated the full capabilities of Mitchell's private army and justified every aspect of the $2 million annual investment. Today, Mitchell's team continues to evolve and adapt to new threats as Conor's profile and business interests expand globally. The security challenges of protecting someone with Conor's wealth, fame, and influence require constant innovation and significant resources. The team now includes specialists in digital forensics, international law, cultural intelligence, and emerging technologies that could be used by hostile actors. They maintain relationships with law enforcement and intelligence agencies in dozens of countries, and their threat assessment capabilities rival those of government agencies. The threat landscape continues to evolve, Mitchell observes. As Conor's business empire grows and his influence expands, we're seeing new types of threats from more sophisticated actors. The investment in professional security isn't just about protection, it's about maintaining the freedom to operate in a dangerous world. The $2 million annual cost of Conor's private army might seem excessive to outside observers, but the threats they've neutralized and the disasters they've prevented have proven that the investment is not only justified but essential for someone operating at Conor's level of visibility and success. Recent intelligence suggests that threats against high-profile celebrities and wealthy individuals are increasing in frequency and sophistication as global economic pressures and technological capabilities create new opportunities for hostile actors. Mitchell's team represents the cutting edge of private security, combining military-grade capabilities with the discretion and flexibility required to protect a public figure without interfering with their ability to live their life and conduct their business. The 12 men who protect Conor McGregor's empire have created a security model that other celebrities and wealthy individuals are now trying to replicate. But the level of expertise, resources, and commitment required means that only the most successful and threatened individuals can afford this level of protection. For Conor McGregor, the $2 million annual investment in his private army has bought something that money usually can't purchase: the ability to focus on building his empire without constantly looking over his shoulder, knowing that some of the world's most capable professionals are watching over him and his family. Colonel Mitchell and his team continue their quiet work, invisible to the public but essential to maintaining the security and freedom that allows Conor to operate at the highest levels of business and entertainment. They represent a new evolution in celebrity security, from reactive protection to proactive threat elimination, from impressive-looking bodyguards to invisible military-grade operations that neutralize dangers before they can materialize. The private army protecting Conor McGregor proves that in today's world, true security isn't about looking tough or intimidating potential threats. It's about having the intelligence, resources, and capabilities to stay ahead of sophisticated adversaries who have resources and motivations that go far beyond what most people can imagine. If you enjoyed this incredible story of modern security warfare and protection, make sure you're subscribed to Notorious Stories and hit that like button. We dive deep into the most shocking and untold stories of Conor McGregor's life, from his biggest victories to his most challenging moments. Drop a comment below and let us know, what other Conor McGregor secrets would you like us to investigate? The truth about the Notorious One is always more fascinating than what you see in the headlines.